Welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Abbie Richie. I'm the CEO and founder of Senior Savvy, which helps older adults with their technology. And you can find me right here every Tuesday talking about tech innovation as it relates to senior living. And we have a great show. I'm really, really excited about it. But before we bring our guests on, let's run our intro. Welcome back to Tech Tuesday. It's always a treat to see myself in cartoon form, and we had a good laugh about that with my guests before the show, and I want to go ahead and bring them on. First, I want to invite Dr. Sara Kyle of LE3 and ResHub back onto the show. Welcome back to Tech Tuesday. You've been on a bunch of times, so I'm so glad that you're here today to talk about engagement activities at the communities. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And I also want to invite Miss Sasha Dawn of Utopia Experiences. Welcome to Tech Tuesday, Sasha. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Abbie. It's really, really great to be on. I love everything that you do, and I'm honored to be here, so thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to bring back Joe Hausch of Fotavia. Welcome, Joe. How are you today?
I am wonderful. As the lady said, thank you so much for having us, and I'm glad you did Beauty Before Age. Otherwise, everybody would have tuned out by now. So
there was no choice. I had to do it that way. Anyways, well, guys, welcome to Tech Tuesday. Today, we're going to talk about senior living activities, and I preface this as beyond bingo. And I just want to say, as a full disclosure, I have no problem with bingo. Okay, none whatsoever. I grew up playing bingo. I played bingo with my grandma, and I love bingo. But what I don't love about bingo is how it limits activities at a senior living community from experiencing what else is out there, because there's so much out there. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk a little bit about the history first. First, I want you all to introduce yourself. Tell us about your solution, and then we'll talk about the history of senior living activities. Sara, would you go first, please?
Sure. So Sara Kyle, and I am working on two main projects right now. I have my own consultancy, LE3 Solutions, everything from strategic offerings for engagement, lifestyle, spans the entire continuum, and then also doing a deep partnership with ResHub, what we call a customer experience platform out of Ireland, but just got acquired by PCS, which is the largest EMR solution in Europe. So excited to see where that partnership takes us.
Excellent. And Sasha, please introduce Utopia Experiences for any of our listeners and viewers who don't know about it.
Thank you. I'm Sasha, founder and CEO of Utopia Experiences. It's a longer name than I think I would have chosen if I had done it differently. But by definition, Utopia is a made-up, dreamed-up wonderland, and we all experience that different for ourselves. So that was the intent of the name. Spintopia is our flagship solution. We are a nostalgic game show company that takes those classic game shows that we all know and love and customizes it every single detail for seniors, and to really give enablement and a different tool through technology for activities professionals to allow them to engage with obviously the residents, but the families, the community, the staff. That's what we do. And we're having a great time at it.
Yeah, you guys do. Thank you. And Joe, please introduce yourself and Fotavia.
thank you. My name is Joe Hausch, and Abbie uses the European enunciation of Fotavia. So Fotavia works both ways. Here, we create reminisce with relevance, and it's pretty simple, and I love that terminology. We signed an incredible deal with the Life Picture Collection about 8 years ago, and we have access to over 660,000 images, and we do documentaries, mini documentaries, 2 minutes long. We tell stories, we time travel, and then recently, about a year and a half ago, we invented something called Fotrivia. So we have questions two questions about what you just learned in those 2 minutes, and then two kind of life questions that take people on incredible journeys and take us along with them. So I'm president and CEO of Fotavia, and we're very proud also to be part of the engagement bundle, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Excellent, excellent. When you mentioned that number of photos, I immediately thought to myself, do I have that many photos in my photo roll right now? At any time, I probably could, but and I know a lot of us, that's how we roll until it's time to delete, right? But yeah, I'm glad you've got access to that many significant photos. So I want to now circle back to Dr. Sara Kyle, who is an engagement expert. She calls herself a geek. And yeah, you can be geeky if you want to, but I'm going to call you expert. And I'd love for you to give us a history of activities at senior living, please.
Sure. I will do my best. I don't know that I'm the most qualified. I'm 15 years in of what feels like immersion in senior living. So I know there's a lot that predicates my knowledge, but I've tried to be a good student of this space. I think when you look back, I was thinking about it this morning. It's maybe a random thought, but the shower is where all my great thoughts come to mind. The problem is there's no way to write those down or record them. And so you just remember that. But I think at the onset of senior living, as we know it, a communal setting, the population was very different. And we think about that silent generation, even the one before it, and you just think about what people experienced in their life. I talked with my mom about this a little bit, that our formal upbringing was so different of what women were able to participate in. It wasn't organized activities, sports like we know it now. Additionally, the people that first started senior living were very much a male persona and a female persona, and those carry different weights of how they engaged in life and what they grew up with, what they wanted to do. So when you look at the first generation of senior living, it was a much more passive group of people, and a passive group that said, very accommodating of whatever you give to me to do, I will be happy and I will do it. There wasn't much pushback on that. The whole intent of activities was for group programming. Group programming is the most efficient way to do something from a staff approach, right? Bring as many people into one location, feed their souls whatever you're feeding them, and then they go on, right? And so because of the way that we staff senior living, that model has stayed in place. If you can be most places in this idea that bring as many people to this central location, call it edification, whatever you want. We will entertain, we will edify, we will spark life into them. But if you really look at how senior living and how our lives exist, group dynamics are not where most of the engagement has to happen. They don't in our daily world. And so as we transcend through this journey of what I think activities is, we are stuck with this idea of what we've done, what's comfortable. We've built technology around it, right? We have created content. We've done a lot of things around this idea of group programming. And we are, what I think, at this tipping point of completely upending group programming because the individual approach is very different. We have a very vocal customer right now that doesn't want to do things in groups of 20. I will, just one small example is, how often would you want to go to a dinner party with 20 people? Right. Sign you up for 3 hours, build confusion. Let's not forget that we're all riding on the same transport to get there. And so sometimes what we think about this one simple lunch outing is actually very hard to hear when you're in a restaurant. Most servers don't like big parties. To get a reservation, and it's a 3-hour lunch, right? But in our mind, we say group programming is an efficient way to do something, right? So that's where I think we're at. But I love the space, and I love what we're all doing because we are at this tipping point to completely disrupt it. But in order to disrupt it, we have to let go of what we've been holding on to that are the absolutes of activities.
Yeah, and the other thing too that I want to talk about is the activity director and what their role is, because that's also shifting significantly. So could you speak to that as well, Dr. Sarah?
Yeah, so I realized this a couple days ago, and I guess I've known it, but I'm an educator by heart. My whole goal in life was to be a professor, and the education setting is what brings me probably some of the most joy. I do not know if our education and our training and our curriculum for the activity professional has progressed as quickly as the customer has evolved.
Yes, right.
And I think that is, it's not to say we need to go find a different group of people to do this work. You don't want to take away a profession that people have devoted their lives to and then say you need to do it differently. But I don't think, actually, I know that the involvement of curriculum and education and learning experience is up to speed with how drastically the customer, the product, the asset, the technology has changed.
Right.
And so I think that's our one deficit that we've got to figure out. I think we're still creating professional licenses around regulatory matters, not so much futuristic models that as development we see coming front and center.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Sasha, when you've spoken to any of these activity directors, and Joe, I'll ask you the same question, what what comes up as a regular limitation or limiting belief around what you provide?
Technology is a limiting belief I get a lot. I mean, my opening line is, I'm Sasha. We do a hands-free live custom game show to connect and engage your residents. And they're like, you do what? And I say it slower and I try to give more definition around that. But I want to back up. That's if I get them on the phone. And to Dr. Sarah's point, right? They are there for their role. But oftentimes when I call, actually most of the time, they're serving lunch, they're driving a bus, they're running the front desk and don't have access to their calendar. They are doing 27 things at a time. And so getting time on their calendar to show them how this game will simplify, they can give it to staff, it's afternoon, evenings, it's weekends. But I'm always moved when I get them on the phone. I'm always short, sweet, to the point. And I clarify that I do have the right person because I'm just so taken when I get them. They are, in my experience, not all of them, of course, but this is really what got me into the industry, was meeting my father's activities director, which was my introduction to senior living. But, overworked, understaffed, underpaid, but they have these incredible hearts where they will drop all 27 things to help a resident, to help a family member. And it's an honor to serve them. It's an honor to create anything that might help them streamline and give hours of programming on demand. But really just getting connected with them and letting them know I'm here to serve them, to help them serve their residents is our goal.
Yeah, I want to mention something about that Dale just posted a minute ago, Dalen, and it's really about having an internal champion who is going to bring the idea to the community. And what I found as the CEO of Senior Savvy, providing tech services at different communities, whether it's tech workshops in person or on Zoom, tech concierge services, is that when I have someone from the executive level asking for it because they know that it needs to be at their community, it gets put on the calendar faster, right? We can all agree to that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, thank you for posting that, Dalen. And huge challenge getting this person on the phone. Remind me to tell you afterwards what my process is, okay? I'll share this with you after the show. So, and then Joe, how about for you? What are some of the perceived limitations of integrating your solution at a community?
Well, Dalen's exactly right, I think, and you're spot on. And I think some guy named Steve Moran said something once, that the budget should all be in the hands of the activity directors because whatever management, or it needs to be reworked out. But I mean, I tend to agree. Same thing. Very busy. I guess how we've gone in, and my background is design and marketing and advertising. So I've been doing that for, like I said, I don't know, maybe 35 years. I started when I was 2, but it's so many things have changed. Technology. I don't think Sasha could have done what she was doing 10 years ago. I don't think, or we were doing it 10 years ago, but we couldn't have done it 15 years ago, or even it just came into, it became a realistic idea. And I don't want to say that the pandemic really helped things, but pandemic really kind of helped things from our standpoint. And I bet some other companies, I don't consider ourselves necessarily a pure tech company, but we really got to focus on developing our content. I told you we have access to 660,000 images. Before the pandemic, we only had 75 movies made. By the end of it, or by what we perceived, we had over 250 V-clips finished, and then we started working on Fotrivius. Now we've got over 300 pieces. We couldn't have done that with that focus. Now that's one. Now internet speeds got a little bit better and whatnot, and I'm going a little bit away from the activity professionals, but what I kind of realized a few years ago, I mean, it is about time to me. And then the next thing is about training. I think that people in general are afraid, and there's no real training with our stuff. It's hit the TV, and that's kind of it. There's other things you can learn that are going to make your job even better. But what we've designed is something that's for the residents, or, for the viewers, but it really helps. It helps the caregivers as well because they participate and they can relax and it's all done for them. So, trying to keep that in mind, their trial, their what they got to go through every day. And yeah, they're busy. They won't pick up the phone. But when we do hear from them, it's amazing. And I think that our stuff helps them as well. So
yeah. And when you do get through to someone, what do they say to you? They usually say, I don't understand. Send me a proposal, send me a picture, show me something. What do they usually say to you? Yeah, I can see you shaking your head, Sasha.
I want to hear what Sasha has to say.
They say, oh my gosh, I know you've called me 4 times already. Or I'm so sorry, I saw your 3 emails. Can you send another one? And, I do. And they're usually so kind and apologetic. And I'm just like, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. But it's just that they're busy. They are busy. If I get them on the phone in that 4 to 7 minutes, we can get them signed up, set up for onboarding, and off we go. But it's just getting them on the phone.
Yeah. And 1 second, Joe. And what I want to say here is that for these solutions, I know that this is as for Senior Savvy as it is with Utopia and for yours as well, Joe, is that, like you said, it's offsetting the demand on the caregiver, right? Like it's creating connections for sure, but it's also in terms of the activity director, giving them a break from having to entertain and also just freeing up your staff, especially when it comes to technology, freeing them up to not have to answer all of those questions, right? So, yeah. Okay, Joe, please go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was just going to add, I think that, them feeling guilty about getting back to us, that's nothing they should have. But what I want to say, based on my background, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of different companies in different industries. And it used to be that like attorneys were terrible to work with and doctors or hospitals, and they were the last ones to adopt. So caregivers, in the senior living world, they're not doing too bad, but I think we all need to open the blinders a little bit and just take the chance and take the next step. I think Sara was kind of edging on that, and she said it way more politely than I ever could. It's just like, you need to jump off here pretty soon and make the change, because if we don't make change, there's no growth. So
go for it, Sara.
I think that with this professional that we've all supported and we all know, the level of, I would say, just overwhelming sense is real. and it's true. And it's not a matter of you don't know how to time management, so let me give you an HR course on this, or this isn't organized, or it's not that. Until we are able to say we can remove some of the standards that we have in place, whether that's you have to do 6 activities in a day, or you have to drive the bus 20 hours a week, or you have to help serve, you have to do all these other ancillary tasks. Until we remove something, there is not capacity to take anything else in right now. And that is what we perceive, if I'm a vendor as well, right? That it's pushback, it's I'm not ready, maybe they don't like tech. We have to look at, and Dalen, you mentioned this, from that regional and that executive support, that we have to pare back our expectations of what is not working well, rather than just keep doing what is good. To get to it's the whole good to great, but to get to a state of great, we have got to reduce something on their plate. So there is room, there's space, and there is an interest to even entertain this new idea of thinking. Until we do that, it's just this hamster wheel that's saying, keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And to their credit, there's not space in their day. So, and I think that's the same thing with any tech, to go in and say, why don't you stack this on top of what you already have in existing? There's not the budget for that either. So it is more of a conversation of, let's look at what you're currently paying for that's not giving you value or not giving you the outcomes you wanted, right?
Or what you're currently doing,
right?
that someone else can be doing for you. Yeah.
Yes. That residents can do. I mean, let's start there. You have a huge population that's willing and able.
Yes. Yes. 100%. They're wise, they're brilliant, they're experienced, they're totally capable, and they're not tapped.
No.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you see as part of the problem here?
So how I'm working now, I work with not so much the activity professionals at the community level. I do interact some, but it is more the strategic approach at the organization or corporate level. What I find most often is there is interest, there is passion, and there is resolve to do something different, right?
Good.
However, the time is missing. And Dalen mentioned this, the time to set aside and treat this vertical of the business the same as you would a sales and marketing, a culinary, or an operations is far, far removed from that. We are not there yet. And until the executive team is willing to devote the amount of time with the amount of words, we will still have this gap that doesn't get us there. And I find that you can hand off, it's consulting, right? Like you can hand off the most epic manual playbook, but nothing happens if there is not time or resources to implement that. So I think we're doing really, really well as an industry, creating new approaches, new standards, new processes, new procedures. We haven't got to that next state yet of setting aside the time and the training to implement.
Thank you. And Joe, I want you to explain and introduce the engagement bundle and how that is part of the solution that you're providing.
I think it's pretty exciting. About a year and a half ago, Dave from Coro Health called me and said that he was thinking of getting a few people from the industry together that are providing content that's award-winning and clinically tested. And I was walking across the field going to watch my daughter play softball, and I said, sounds great. And they started it about then with 3 companies, Spiral 100, Coro Health, and One Day University, which is now Curiosity University. And so they were working for about a year, and in July, I think we got a phone call and asked if we wanted to join the bundle and kind of grow and create a kind of a premier bundle, because there's nothing like this out there. I think Dr. Sara may have even said something when I met her, I think maybe a year plus ago, and said something like, you should connect with some other folks, and that's what we were focused on. So the bundle is 6 providers of content, and we're delivered by one amazing provider called Quilt. So there's Fotavia then, and Memory Bio, and then Discover Live, which is virtual tours kind of worldwide. Memory Bio nurtures conversations and connections, kind of like what we do. Again, we create Reminisce, and we're kind of a cognitive enhancement tool. Choral Health is fully licensed music, which is really important for all facilities. You must have licenses. And then they also have Faith First, which is faith-based content. And they also have things like sing-alongs and whatnot, which are really cool. And Spiral 100, of course, is exercise and stretching and at all different levels. So amazing content, and we're all delivered one point of access, one really small bill. We've priced it. You can get up to 70% off of all of us, and it's set up to be as simple as possible. So we just introduced it. November was really the big intro, but we've been working on it kind of since August, and I think it's amazing. We're getting some great feedback, some great response, and there's a couple of neat things on the horizon. Hopefully we can announce soon.
Excellent, excellent. And Sasha, I want to give you a chance also just to talk about your solution in this arena, please.
Thank you. I appreciate you shining a light, or allowing me to shine a light. It's nice to, you were one of the kindest persons. You were the kindest person. I remember when I first entered into the industry, I reached out to you not knowing anything, and not that I know much more today, but both you and Dr. Sara, I reached out to back then, and you were very gracious to give me your time, and I appreciate that. Today, we have almost 200 customers. In January of 2023, we had 4, and now we are we're growing significantly. And the point is, we've made it easy. We've streamlined, sign up, communication, our messaging, onboarding, gameplay. 1,000 games are played regularly during a month, and it's incredible. But what I think I always try to make sure I get across to the activities professionals, because I know there's free Wheel of Fortune out there, and that's great. Free is good. You get what you pay for sometimes. Not always. There's really good versions. However, I just want to be clear with what I feel is so much of a differentiator for our solution is every single detail. I mean, from sounds, colors, fonts, words, everything was ran by, the experts in the industry, whether it was, we met with hundreds of residents, activities professionals, rec therapists, CEOs, executive directors, to get their feedback on every single thing. And then now that we have a really good solution, what's so cool is, we have 5,500 words that are preloaded, and it's important to know that they are senior specific. My father, who I built the company based on my experience, is our puzzler. He's our volunteer puzzler. So he takes his job very seriously. He, number one, makes sure all of our words are spelled correctly, which is key in a word game. But number two, and most important, is he makes sure they're appropriate for our demographic, being the residents. And like my dad always says, he says, Sasha Dawn, we don't want to see any Taylor Swift TikTok-y BS. We want some good old words. So our words are extraordinary. And we just put in 500. We just released it earlier this week, but we have now 500 additional words on just Animal Kingdom. And that was based on demand from residents. We have the general categories and holidays, but we have it in 4 levels of gameplay, and we like to say it's only inclusive if everyone can play. So, we service memory care to IL. Our oldest game host is an 86-year-old IL resident. It's pretty magical. So I'm really proud of what we've created, and I'm proud of the customization and gameplay. So thanks, Abbie.
Wonderful. And you're so welcome. With just a couple minutes left, Sasha, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I am doing demos all the time. We say seeing is believing, but playing is experiencing. So through our website, you can book a demo. You can call. I think we've put the phone number up. It's direct to my cell phone. We are here to serve.
Yeah, wonderful. And Joe, how can people get in contact with you?
Well, I can at fotavia.net is one way. We also have you can go online at fotavia.tv, and anybody can subscribe right now and and get involved. Otherwise, like Sasha, a phone number on our website, you can get right to me that way, and via email. Love to do. We've been doing a lot of shows, so locally, kind of in the southeastern Wisconsin, Illinois kind of area. So if you're around here, we'll do it in person. Otherwise, we can do things via Zoom as well.
Excellent. And Sara, how can people connect with you?
I'll be quick. You can find me at la3solutions.com. For those of you looking for that next level beyond resident engagement, but looking at customer experience platform, happy to show you what we're up to at Res Hub. We have some really cool integrations and I think game-changing, pun intended, opportunities of just what would you create if you could create a platform from the ground up. So feel free to reach out, and thank you so much, Abbie, for just the opportunity and the conversation again. And Joe and Sasha, it's so cool to watch the evolution of what's transpired and to look at. It's always been about collaboration, and the more that there's collaboration and sharing, even better. So I love what you all are up to, and I love the tenacity, and I love that you call people 4 and 5 times and don't stop there, because most of the time it may take 12.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. Well, guys, I just want to thank you. You're some of my favorite people to talk with, and I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing in this amazing space. And for those of you that joined us in the chat, well done. I love it that you participate like that. It just makes my day. Come on back here next week for another episode of Tech Tuesday. See you then.